Welcome to module number 5, and in this module we are going to be focusing on your estimation of yourself. It's an identity quantity. There are a lot of factors that make addiction, compulsion, and general lifestyle issues deeply rooted in our lives and making it literally impossible to break free. It is the reason why in taking a journey to freedom, we must look at these very important several components that define our slavery. This is the truth. One key ingredient for winning any battle of life is how you estimate yourself, your value for yourself. Because you see, how your value for yourself, your sense of worth, will define how you carry yourself. It will define the boundaries you create around you. It will define what you allow. It will define what you stop. It will define what you will not tolerate. It will define what is not acceptable part-time. All of that is defined by your value, your estimation. How much of a worth do you think you are controls whether you love yourself and whether you have any quota of self-confidence. All of this summed together will define the momentum, the energy, reserve with which and from which you face the battle of life and come out of the other end of the tunnel completely victorious. So my job in this model is to see if I can change the way you see yourself, if I can change how you value yourself, if I can reset your mind as to who you are, what you represent, what you stand for, what you're worth, and all of that, empowering you to begin to love yourself, dignify yourself, and be confident as you do life. And so welcome to module number 5, understanding your worth. Understanding your worth. So the question now is, and of course we have 2 exercises at the end of this module. The question now is, where does your value come from? Everybody has a value for themselves. The difference is that some people have an amazing value for themselves that makes them to be self-dignified and defines what they do, where they will find themselves and where they will not find themselves, who they will find themselves with and who they cannot find themselves with, where they will go, what they will do. All of that is defined by how, so everybody values themselves. It's a question of negative value, is a question of positive value. So where does your value for yourself come from? If your value for yourself comes from without you, outside of you, then you are going to do a lot of stupid things. Because listen, when your value for yourself is derived from people or from places or from things, it's a terrible place to be. It's a terrible place to be because now you'll be looking for validation from people. You'll be looking for acceptance from people. And to be accepted by people, you will do very stupid things. They will place very stupid demands on you and you will sheepishly be doing their biddings just to feel accepted. And when people say no to you, it messes with how you see yourself, how you value yourself, and your worth for yourself. It's a terrible place to be because now your sense of value is defined by whether you belong to that club, whether you belong to that association, places, whether you belong to those group of people, or whether you have things, material acquisition. So you define your worth based on whether you have a car, whether you lost your car, whether you have a house, whether you lost your house, whether you have a wife or you lost your wife, whether you have children or you lost your children. When people, places, and things is what define your worth or defines your worth, trust me, it's a terrible place to be. It will make you do very weird things. It will make you do all kinds of things just to prove a point to people who are not waiting for you to prove any point. You don't want to do that. It's a terrible, depressing, traumatic, frustrating place to be because once you don't have a value, a worth from within you, you will begin to run away from that sense of defeat, that sense of deprivation, that sense of not feeling worth anything will make you begin to do all kinds of things to suppress that feeling, that devaluing feeling, that limiting belief about yourself. So now you are enslaved to alcohol, you're trying to use all kinds of drugs and stimulants to oppress, depress, to cover up that feeling of it being not valued, that not being like that rejection. You feel rejected, you feel like nothing. So now you are involved deeply in sex, in drugs, in homosexuality, in all kinds of things, just to cover up how you feel. You feel terrible about yourself. And for goodness sake, this feeling is coming from the fact that you are letting what is outside of you to define you. You're always trying to belong. You're always trying to deserve to take care of yourself. You're always trying to merit life. You're always trying to qualify for greatness. You don't have to do that. It's a terrible place to belong, to be at. And it will make you do a lot of things to cover up. Now you're looking for expensive clothes to cover up the feeling of cheapness that you feel about yourself. You're looking for cars to gain recognition. You're looking for material things just to look in the eyes of people like a great person. I'm saying that if you derive your worth, your validation, your confidence, your acceptance from these things, you're going to live a very tortured life. You're going to live a very difficult life, very artificial life. You're not going to be authentic. You're not going to have a voice. You're not going to be who you are. You will not be able to stand for your beliefs. You're not going to be able to stand for what you value. You are going to give in and cave in to people, to places and things. And if there is one thing you need to do, is to come out from such a life of depravity. This is so important. Someone asked me some time ago, what can I do to receive or to enjoy the favor, the grace of God? When people ask that kind of question, it stems from a background, a mindset of trying to do something to impress God, to impress people, to impress places, to feel accepted. And I said to the person, I'm sorry, there's nothing you can do to receive, to enjoy the grace and the favor of God. Because when you talk about doing something to receive the grace of God, the impression you create is that you're trying to do that thing to earn the favor of God, to merit the favor of God, to deserve the favor of God. And if it is the grace of God, then you cannot earn it. If you do anything, whatever you get is not grace. It is something you earned. It is some kind of a salary, and salary is earned. Grace cannot be earned. It is important that we come to terms with that. Once you change your value for yourself, it will change your approach to life. For example, there are two words in the Bible that are translated grace. They are ken, C-H-E-N, and charis, C-H-A-R-I-S. Both of them mean two key words. Number one, they mean favor. Number two, they mean charm. Ken is, an Hebrew word from the Old Testament Bible. And then charis is a Greek word from the New Testament Bible. They both refer to grace, and they mean favor, and they mean charm. All of us know about the grace of God as favor, but not necessarily as charm. Let me use a description of this to convey to you why it is so important that the way you value your respect for yourself, your courage for yourself changes. Now, charms, for example, are magical, and they're intended to subdue. They're intended to control, they're intended to summon by incantation or by spiritual influence. And when the Bible now says that someone found favor in God's eyes, the question is, why is grace associated with the eyes? In Genesis chapter 6 verse 8, it says, but Noah found grace in the eyes of God. That kind of statement is repeated in several places in the Bible. Abraham found grace in the sight of God. Enoch found grace in the sight of God. Noah found grace in the sight of God. Why is grace associated with the eyes or with sight? It's simply because just like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, favor is also in the eyes of the beholder. It's some kind of a charm. Is described as some kind of a charm, some kind of a spell, some kind of magical instrumentation that is intended to subdue, control, or summon. And so the best way to describe it is you go to a community, you need a wife, and everybody thinks she's a prostitute. Everybody thinks she's dirty, undeserving, she's not worth your class. You are royalty. Why in the world would it be a prostitute that you want? Everybody, it's like the case of Samson in the Bible. Everybody tries to stop you from Delilah. They say, no, you can't do this. And because of the fact that when you look at the prostitute, you don't see prostitution. You see a beauty. Samson was seeing a beauty he couldn't imagine. He has never seen a beauty like this. The legs may be bow-legged, but for Samson, this is the best of beauty that he has seen. So Samson is seeing something that nobody else can see. Measuring by other people's estimation, Delilah is not the place to go. Measuring by what Samson is seeing, he was going to shut down the entire nation unless he is granted access to Delilah. And so he's willing to give up everything to get Delilah. In a sense, You can say this person is charmed by her beauty. In fact, in some cultures, they could even accuse her of using something to charm the guy because people can't understand why in the world it has to be this person. Grace is described. The root word for the word grace is derived from the word charm. It's like a spell that is put on someone that makes the person desire a person and does that with overriding preference. It is the reason why grace is not given to people who deserve it. Go through all the Bible, go through all of human history. Grace is always been given to people who are not worthy, people who are not deserving, people who don't merit it, people who are incapable of earning it. So if you're waiting to derive, to earn, to get, to acquire, to amass, to get certain things before you can now use that to define, to measure your worth, you are going to miss it big time. It is the reason why for somebody like me, there's nothing anybody has, there's nothing any person has acquired that intimidates me, because you see, worth is not in those things. There is worth that creates those things. If you have worth that creates those things, if you have value that creates those things, then you're not intimidated by those things because you have the capacity to create those things. This is so important. It is the reason why the Bible says in Romans chapter 11 verse 6 that if it is by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. So grace and work are two distinct things. So you don't want to try to earn, to deserve, to merit, or to be worthy of the grace of God. You don't want to do that. No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So it's so important that we come to terms with how God relates with man. You don't try to earn the grace of God. You don't try to earn the worth, the value that God places on you. Because do what you may, you can't qualify for it. You can't earn it. You just receive it. So I told the guy who asked me, what do I do to receive it? I said, listen, just receive the grace of God. He has lavished it. And I'm going to go into that if I have the time. Grace is given lavishly to those who understand it and are able to receive it. So just receive it, because listen, the reason you get the grace of God is because of how God looks at you, his investments in you. What he's seeing, nobody else can see. What he has put on the inside of you, you can't even perceive it. People don't understand it. And it cannot be measured by the mundane, by people, places, and things. God is crazy about you because he's put so much in you and he cannot wait to get the dividends, the returns of his investment in you. You don't want to value yourself from without. I'm going to get back now to show you how to value yourself from within. I'll be right back.